Prior to the break, Sir, discussing the bill, we discussed matters in relation to unintended consequences, although certainly foreshadowed consequences by now to Flinders University and the broader South Australian higher education sector. We've dealt with matters relating to regional and rural South Australian students. And in both of those, students in the southern suburbs, students in regional and rural South Australia obviously will be in a better situation after the next election, the ascendancy of the new Liberal government after 2026. Further matters need consideration. Related to the passage of the bill is also consequential sale of the land at McGill and Mawson Lakes to the government. The government sees this as a budget-neutral endeavour, which I suppose it may be according to certain accounting techniques, albeit in reality the government is giving $115 million to the university and in return is obtaining land of that value, but an asset that the government doesn't need. It sits on the balance sheet, effectively very minimal impact on the long-term bottom line, but nevertheless, the university needs the cash, it doesn't need the land. The situation at Mawson Lakes, I believe the government is acquiring a golf course. Clearly, the government, I don't think, is seeking to establish a mechanism to use the golf course for any particular purpose, but it will be owned by the government and sit on the books. And the member for Florey, I'm certain, will be keen for community to be consulted if the government ever intends to dispose of it. But it's adjacent to and theoretically at the moment part of the University of SA Mawson Lakes site. And, well, there it is. It's really no more complicated than that, as best I can tell. It's an odd sort of thing, but the university gets their $50 million in ready cash. The government acquires a golf course, but sits equally on the budget bottom line. McGill is probably of a higher level of immediate interest and concern because there's a proposal to dispose of the land at McGill. East of St Bernard's Road is in the electorate of Morialta. I obviously take a strong interest as a local member. And I put it to the government and encourage them very seriously over the next 2.5 years as they are working to seek to, as I think Rick Purse from the Department of Treasury put it, realise as much of the value as possible from the purchase of the land. Renewal SA will be working to dispose of the land on the eastern side of St Bernard's Road. Renewal SA described development of housing, and indeed we certainly need a level of housing, but there is an opportunity here. Bearing in mind that this is a community that has experienced the highest level pretty much of urban infill of any patch of land in South Australia and metropolitan Adelaide in particular over the last decade as a result of the work of John Rao. The land there represents one of the last pieces of open space in that community. It's significant new developments at the old seminary, at the old McGill Training Centre, and infill on almost every street in McGill and Rostrevor has had an impact, and that land is used every day. There is a proposal from the Campbelltown Council that's been put forward. I urge the government to take that proposal very seriously. There's a recommendation that was put forward in the majority report in relation to the land at McGill in relation to community consultation, and the majority view was that there was an opportunity for here we go. The majority view was that public consultation in relation to the use, development or sale of the land at McGill and Mawson Lakes should commence at the earliest reasonable stage, and councils with an explicit interest in the disposal of the land should be involved in the master planning process. That's fine in as far as it goes. The Honourable Jing Lee and myself went further and urge that as part of the public consultation recommended by this report in relation to the McGill campus land, Government should include an offer to deliver on Council's suggestions for the development of community facilities on the eastern part of the land. Council's willing to put some money in. Council's willing to invest in the community, and Council's willing to assist in meeting the Government's burden of trying to realise some financial value from this land. I recognise Council's offer may not be the maximum financial benefit to the state government for the land, but it will considerably alleviate community anxiety about what would otherwise be seen as another high-density housing development. It's only a couple of kilometres up the road in relation to the Woodford site on the Hills Face, where you've got a 5-storey apartment building that's been put in place next to narrow streets and minimal street parking at the Woodford development. That sort of proposal, I think, would be extremely poorly received in the community. A community where the local high school has got about double the enrolments expected within the next 5 years compared to what it was when I was elected in 2010. There were about 1,200 students at Norwood Morialta High School in 2010. There's about 1,800 at Norwood International today. There's 200 at Morialta Secondary College, and in 5 years that'll be 1,200. And you know, that's based on no development further at McGill. So that's an issue. If we're talking about a portion of the land, if we're talking about particularly sensitive development, retirement living, for example, then that's a different kettle of fish. But Council's proposal for community and sporting facilities, I think, would go a long way, and I encourage the government to it. In relation to the western side of the land, there's more time for that. And the western side of the land is, of course, where most people would think of when they say McGill campus. A lot of people wouldn't even realise that the eastern side of the road is part of the McGill campus. That western portion of the campus is going to have well, at Murray House, we understand the heritage protections there are strong enough to keep it. The committee has recommended, I think I can say unanimously, that the government enter into negotiations and discussions with the childcare centre, the McGill Campus Community Children's Centre, as soon as possible to ensure that its lease can be renewed. I actually take the Minister at her word, certainly when the government has said they've got no intention of stopping the work going on there, so that work can take place soon. And other community assets can be protected there. I urge the government to do so, and the Liberal Party certainly will if elected in 2026. I seek leave to continue my remarks, sir.
Leave is sorted. Leave granted. Leave is granted. Minister.